And, that's the way I watch soccer. I mean, it's on, so that's all I care about. So,
yep. I hear you. Okay, I think we're live.
We're live, baby.
All right, Fish. We got a good one tonight. First, Tony Visick, who runs comedyschools.com, will tell us about the essential educational tool that we all need. It's called laughter. Then we meet John Johnston, the TV producer and correspondent. He had breakfast with Ali and drinks with Mickey Mantle. Plus, we have our schmuck of the week who blames a pig for a lost Olympic opportunity. And who's got the swag is an ESPN star who taunts the network. Ginger Snaps is going to get into our clothes, and something fishy is happening between baseball managers and umps that we need to bring back. A dramatic portrayal is ahead. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Daily Fish. John Daly here, along with Eric Snyder, a.k.a. Fish. We are coast to coast, coming to you from Las Vegas and Myrtle Beach. We talk about sports and entertainment and everything in between. Fish, I'm really excited about tonight's show.
I am too. Let's roll.
All right, it's time for the daily grind. Here's what we are grinding on first. Baseball has a sticky situation. Pitchers are allegedly using sticky substances to get better control and spin on their pitches. Umpires in the league have confiscated balls, gloves, and hats. Some say it's another reason hitting and run production is down. Now, this is kind of tough to police. So let me ask you this, Fish. Will every pitcher have to wash his hands on the mound?
What are they going to do? They're going to have a sanitation station like they do when you walk into a restaurant. You see them do this. I mean, baseball is so big into getting rid of all the steroids and all the cheating and what have you. And, the home run records are tainted because of this and that. And we're still going through this. We're still going through the Gaylord Perry crap. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes just leaves things the way they are and see how the chips fall.
All right. Next, football players won't be vaccinated, but they will practice virtually. I don't know. That seems kind of strange to me.
Well, it's funny, too, because the Raiders actually lead the league in getting vaccinations. This team was fined $800,000 last year for COVID violations. And I heard John Gruden say it. He goes, you know what? If I got a player, if players don't get vaccinated, they got to practice in the classroom on a computer, right? So he's saying, am I going to cut a guy that's on the field with Derek Carr, or going to cut a guy that's in the classroom? Now, it's a little disingenuous, John, because obviously if a Darren Waller or Josh Jacobs didn't get vaccinated, he's not going to cut him. But it is an incentive for guys that are free agent rookies or guys that are trying to make the team. Get your ass out on the field. Get vaccinated, get out on the field.
All right. The Summer Olympics in Tokyo is not looking good, even though the International Olympic Committee is insisting that they happen. But the Japanese, according to polling, and also my sources over there, would rather wait a year. COVID cases are rising in many Asian countries. Fish, I don't think this is looking good.
It doesn't look good. There's no buzz. This thing starts July 23rd, and I'm a big Olympic guy. I mean, we all grew up with it. It was such a mainstay every 4 years. You couldn't wait. Great stories in the Olympics, Miracle on Ice, what have you. And now, I mean, there's zero buzz about it, and I'm afraid that it's losing its luster right now. And I wish they would. They can't, but I wish they would postpone it another year.
All right, we'll see. And finally on the grind, our U.S. Open predictions. I am going to be bold. I am going with Phil Mickelson to win back-to-back majors now at 51 years old. Why? Well, he knows Torrey Pines since he's from the San Diego area, even though he's had trouble with the new layout there. Still, I think he knows he's on a roll and time is running out. So he's my first pick. Xander Schauffele is my second pick. What about yours?
Well, I always go with Dustin Johnson because I always go with the guy that has the best-looking wife. And my second pick, you know what? Got to go. We talked about. We got to go with John Rahm. Go Rahmbo. I think John Rahm was playing great golf last week at the Memorial, and I hope he gets a chance for redemption.
All right. Well, we'll see. All right. If you have a question or comment now, drop it in the chat box here. And if you have it later, email us at dailyfish1@gmail.com or post to Facebook at daily.fish.5. Better yet, if you can record yourself, send us a question we can put on the show. Make it short and email it to dailyfish1@gmail.com. All right. It's time for some binge watching. Fish, what are you binging on? I'm
binging on Harlots on Hulu. You know the sick bastard that I am. This is 18th century England. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
It's Samantha. Oh my God. You need subtitles. I mean, I forget it. But Samantha Morton she owns a brothel and she has her two daughters working for her. And now she has competition. And the dialogue is like, I don't want to go to the Torts and no Canada, and I go to the just Tweed. You know, what he really said was, I have $50 for your daughters. Do you mind if I get a hand job? That's what it was, you know? So that's what I'm watching. Harlots on Hulu. Love it.
All right, Fish, I'm going with the marvelous Mrs. Maisel. She becomes a comedian in the 1950s and early 60s after she finds her mediocre husband cheating on her, and it leads her to this new career of being a comedian. It's very funny, and it takes you back to the mid-20th century. Now, I know you've seen part of this, too.
My wife and I binge watched this whole thing in 2 days. I think it's wonderful. The acting, Kevin Pollak steals the whole thing. I can't wait for it to come out again. Brilliant.
All right, time for something fishy. All right, Fish, what do we have that's fishy?
Well, we're going to recreate what needs to be brought back into baseball. Okay, forget the whole thing about 7-inning double headers and the switch and all that stuff. We need umpire manager confrontations, and one of the greatest guys ever was Earl Weaver. Okay, let me show you what the guy looks like, John. This is Earl Weaver in one of his classic stances. It's kind of blurry, but there's him and Bill Halloran and Eddie Murray in the background back sometime in the 70s. So I'm going to play Earl Weaver, and you're going to play Bump Grabowski in umpire. And Ken Singleton tries to extend a single into a double and get calls out at second base, all right? And I'm going to approach the mound, and this is the dialogue. Bump, are you still goddamn pissed off that I slept with your wife? Are you kidding me? It made you blind also? He was safe by a mile.
Earl, don't start with me.
Start with you. I'm not finished with you yet. Are you kidding me? Look, you're wearing glasses as it is. Get something going on right here. I go, you can't hold it against me that I've slept with your wife. You know what? She was bad. She's about as bad in bed as you are making calls. I'm tired of this crap.
You know, you're really pissing me off, Earl. If you keep this up, I'm going to have to throw you out. I'm not in the mood.
So you're not in the mood. I wasn't in the mood for your wife either, but you know what? Learn how to call plays at second base. He was safe by a mile. Look at the guy. Look at the replay. The replay's on the Jumbotron. What are you, a moron?
Earl, if I was you, I'd be more worried about losing your job. How many games have you lost in a row now? 9?
Well, I'll tell you what, Bump. If I lose my job, I'm going to open up a French whorehouse, and the first person I hire is your goddamn smelly wife.
That's it. You're out of here.
That happened. We'll bring Tony Visick on later. He remembers baseball in those days and all that guys. Baseball confrontation. Let me tell you something. Those confrontations, there was a lot more expletives back in the day. But that's what it was all about. And baseball needs that back. It needs a drama of that happening. Now with instant replay, it's boring.
I agree. And, you know, one of the interesting things was that was actually strategy, because a lot of managers would use it to turn the momentum of the game or to get the opposing pitcher out of his rhythm. And you can't do that anymore. So it's a tool that's kind of taken away from them. So I agree with you. I think we need a little bit of back-to-back. And there's a lot of fans who are really pissed off at the umpires anyway. So let the manager take it on for us.
Right.
All right, still ahead, we have Ginger Snaps. She's dissing on fashion. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Again, we are Daily Fish. We're live on Facebook Tuesdays at 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. We air on DBNA television on Roku, Amazon Fire, and soon Apple TV. We stream 24/7 on the DBNA television website at dbnatelevision.com. Follow us and like us on Facebook at daily.fish.5 and subscribe on YouTube. Okay, now it is time for our Schmuck of the Week. Who's been schmucky this week, Fish?
Oh, this is the best one. This one fell in our lap. This is Shelby Houlihan. She's the American record holder in the 1,500 and 5,000 meters, and she was disqualified from the Olympics because she tested positive for steroids, and she blames it on a pork burrito.
She got porked.
I have no dialogue on this other than, I would scream that people be accountable and take your own, actions and be accountable for what you did. I mean, she won't say what venue, where she got the burrito. Was it Del Taco? Was it Los Tacos? Whatever. But this is crazy. I mean, you ate a burrito and you tested positive for steroids. Okay?
All right. Shelby's our Schmuck of the Week. All right, now let's see who's got the swag. Who are we toasting this week?
This might be my favorite ever. That is ESPN analyst, the host of Party Interruption with Michael Wilbon. That's Tony Kornheiser. All right. He came in, he got in real hot water, John, because ESPN and college football wants to expand their playoffs to 12. And he gets on his show and says the reason why they want to expand their playoffs to 12 is because they're so greedy. They want all the money. All right. Now he's been suspended twice before. Let me show you something he said about Hannah Storm. He said, I love Hannah Storm, an anchor. He said she wore an outfit, and he goes, her outfit is so horrifying. He described it as fit on her like a sausage caping wrapping around her entire body. He gets suspended 2 weeks for that. Then he gets suspended for saying that he's in love with Linda Cohn, another anchor, because she has 6 toes on 1 foot. Another 2 weeks. Then he gets suspended because when ESPN got into the movie business, he said Brian Dennehy was a horrible choice to play the lead of Bobby Knight in the Bobby Knight movie. Good for him. I'm sure Dan Patrick right now and Rich Eisen, both guys that left the mothership, are happy that Tony Kornheiser is giving it back to them.
All right, now we have our toast of the week, our drink of the week. And what's it going to be, Fish? We got to explain it.
This is bourbon, corn. Bourbon's made out of corn. So Kornheiser, my favorite swag guy of all time. We drink to you, Tony. Keep getting suspended.
Good stuff. I'm actually sipping the small batch from Costco that just came out. Oh, my God. It is so good. Fabulous stuff. All right. Our drink of the week is sponsored by Shucks in Vegas. Get great seafood like oysters, crab meat, and shrimp at Shucks. And Shucks has 2 locations. The Shucks is one of them is in the northwest side of town. That's where my boy Fish is on overnights. Check out Shucks on Facebook. Shucks is spelled Shucks. Having a tough time after sipping that bourbon there. It's so juicy. Sorry about that. All right, now it is time for Ginger Snaps to snap us out of our thinking. Charlotte, a.k.a. Ginger Snaps, is here for her weekly tutorial. Ginger Snaps, welcome back, and some clothing education for us tonight, huh?
Oh, hello. Well, I think it's actually the other way around. So I've heard you're going to show me some things that are probably deeply outdated, and then I'm going to roast you guys about what you used to wear. But we'll see. We'll see.
Well, my problem is in the restaurant business, there used to be a code of decorum that you walked in with a nice shirt on and pants, nice pants. Now, kids walk in with tank tops and their pants halfway down their ass. I could see their Mickey Mouse underwear, and I don't get where that came from. It's never happened. But these are some of the attire. This is some of the clothing attire that John and I would wear in the 70s and early 80s, okay? This is clog, a clog. You like that?
Of course
that was big. You wear that with socks, without socks, with Chemin jeans or Jordache jeans and stuff like that. Is that something you guys would wear, or what do you think about that?
I think generally my generation, probably not, but specifically people who are like a little bit hippie, who might want to live in like a log cabin out in the woods somewhere. Like also that niche of like women who are like art teachers, preschool art teachers, they love those kind of shoes. So they're not completely, and nurses also are really into clogs. Dan Scope, great shoes. So
that's true.
Here's number 2. This is the members only jacket. Okay. I still have it. I might be the last member, but see the little things, the flaps on top of there and the members only, very, very popular in the 80s and into the 90s and what have you. But I don't see you got caught dead in that, right, Charlotte?
I would so wear that. It's classic.
Oh.
It's like sleek. I like really simplistic things, but I also have a really good friend who is a brand rep for members only and makes these fantastic videos, and the jackets look pretty much just like that. I think they lost the little tabs on the shoulders, but no, that's so in still. Totally in. Can I have yours? Can I have your vintage members?
Yeah, you can have mine. You can have it. It's been there. Get dust on it too. Look at this. You know what that is, Ginger Snaps?
It's higher.
It's not an ace bandage. It's a sock tie. That's a sock tie. Everyone thought they were cool by wearing a Lacoste shirt buttoned up with a sock tie. It's actually a tie made out of a sock material. So very huge in the 80s. John has the entire collection still in his closet. So I bet the sock tie worn by humans.
Is it that really stretchy material that like expands?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I like those when they're I like that material when it's shirts. Shirts are really cute like that. And also, I think that they would be in ties. Probably not. I don't really know anyone who wears a tie anyway, unless it's like an interview. So
not anymore. I agree. Yeah.
Let's go to a wedding or something like that. Well, this is something that very popular from 1976 to about 79. Travolta brought this in. We got this actually out of John's closet. Look at this guy.
Oh, I love it. No,
Yeah.
I love it and I don't at the same time. It really looks like that classic grandma's couch print that someone just turned into a shirt. And then, like, they're the brightest curtains ever. But I love, I mean, it's fun. It's fun. You have to have a lot of personality to wear that, and nowadays. And I appreciate
that. John knows, and who made that famous was John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, which came out in 77. He wore a little bit nicer than that. But polyester with those shirts were very popular. And then we all wanted to dress like him, so we all looked like that. The only problem is you have 100 people in a bar wearing that. They're very fire retardant. Trust me. The match goes away. You're done. Now check out this.
So that sounds dangerous. I'm not in for that.
You're 22. So you were in high school a few years ago. Check out this high school picture and figure out who this is in Americana, USA. Who's that? Is that Clark Kent on the left with Mary Jane Roddencrotch? And who's the rest of those girls pissed off? That's John Daly. John, what year is that?
That would have been, I think, 1971.
Look at this guy. You look great. You look like Tom Welling a little bit. Rest in peace, Christopher Reeve. And the girl's looking like, get your camera off my boyfriend. And the other two are in line saying, what is he doing with her? Look at those outfits. Look at you, John. You get the jeans on.
I love every outfit in this photo. John, you had great style. Props to you. That plaid, I would wear that today. I wish I had that in my closet with the tights, with the turtleneck. I love it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Honestly, 70s clothing is very, very in right now. I'm currently wearing green corduroy flare pants. So just
wow.
That kind of stuff is very in. And also I've seen that in fashion forward communities of, people my age, 60s clothing is also coming in. The little tiny shift dresses and granny square crocheted little skirts, very, very in. But it's like in little pockets, there's very different kind of style that's in different groups and with different interests. So, but I love
everything. Go ahead. Everything we just showed you would wear, right?
I don't think I would wear the green suit in that color with that pattern underneath. I would wear it. See, like my pants are a little bit darker, a little more classy than that. It's the color that's on those paper cups that you used to get at the doctor. That's like the pink and green little swirly pattern. That's a little bright for me, but everything else, definitely. And I'm holding you to that. I am taking your members only jacket. That's a contract. The world knows.
Next week you should be wearing it.
I will wear it.
You can wear it when we do our live remote next week. But I have, I'm a hoarder when it comes to that. I have so much stuff in my closets from the 70s and 80s. But
the other crazy thing is that people my age are becoming really obsessed with that kind of stuff and considering it vintage, which is funny because it's really not that old. Well, I mean, you guys are kind of old,
Yeah,
and so people will go to thrift stores and search for this kind of stuff, and guaranteed, I'll look it up for next week. I bet that members only jacket would go for a pretty penny online. People are reselling things, and it's exciting. I mean, it's interesting for sure. I like so.
Good stuff. All right. She is Charlotte. We call her Ginger Snaps. She'll be back next week. Write to us if you have something she should school us on. Write to dailyfish1@gmail.com. Ginger Snaps, thank you, as always.
See you guys later.
You got it. All right. We're just getting started. Up next, we gab with Tony Visick, who offers what we would call essential education. He runs a comedy school. More laughs coming up with someone really funny. All right, check out Nooz, that is spelled Nooz. This revolutionary new nationwide startup helps businesses and local communities reach citizens and customers where local news can't. You can even become a newscaster too. Lots of TV news folks and journalism students are looking at it. Go to the Nooz Facebook page, which is Nooz USA, to help your business or start a new on-camera career. That is Nooz USA on Facebook. All right, let's bring in our first guest, Tony Visick. Runs comedyschools.com that offers instruction on how to become a stand-up comic and maybe even a speaker. Tony, you are, as I said, essential education, my friend. Welcome to Daily Fish.
I'm an essential worker. I'm essential, damn it. My life has meaning. My life has value. How are you guys? How you doing?
We're doing
good.
great.
We're good. It's a pleasure to have the Big Lebowski lookalike here live on our podcast. You look, if you don't get that,
I actually have that sweater. I have someone for Christmas. My stepdaughter. I call her my stepdaughter, but my stepdaughter. I call her my stepdaughter because she's my stepdaughter. There's no secret to this, but I feel odd calling her my stepdaughter because I think of her as my daughter, but she's my stepdaughter. So this is my own thing to work through. This isn't my therapy. This is my online therapy, is it? This is a different thing. This is a podcast. Okay, good. Yeah, I've actually got that sweater, and my hair used to be longer. I was at a convention, a 12-step convention in Burbank, California, a couple of years ago, talking to a couple of friends of mine, and a kid walked up and went, "Dude, I just want you to know, it's a great movie," and walked off. And I go, okay.
That's funny. That is funny. So, Tony, if I'm a fledgling comedian and I want to start my career off, and I want to go to
by
comedy,
the way. You have been, I've known you most of your life, and you've always been a fledgling. You are, if you look up the word fledgling in a dictionary, it's a dictionary I wrote, it's in crayon. There's a picture of Eric. It's drawn in crayon by my grandson. Yeah.
Not your stepdaughter. But anyways, I want to get started. I want to go from a fledgler.
I have a real daughter. I got a regular daughter too. I'd like to point that out.
Oh, you got a few more somewhere, but we'll get to that next time.
That's why he's the dude.
Yeah, that's why he's the dude.
I abide.
I want to start a career in comedy. I want to go from fledgling to actually getting on stage, this and that. Do you know right away when you sign someone up, do you know right away that if someone has it or someone doesn't? And
no, I tell you what, if you have that mindset, then you can't do what I now do for part of my living, which is teach comedy workshops, because then that's judgment and that's opinion, and your judgment and opinion can actually, kill off a budding artist. There's certain people that teach workshops that go, you know what, the first day you meet someone, you should be the guy who wears a funny hat and a yellow suit and talks about cheese. How do you know that? So what we teach basically is just, simple craft and technique. So a lot of people want to be writers. They go, I'm going to take a writing workshop, or you take a creative writing workshop. A lot of people want to be actors, so you'll take an acting workshop. All we're doing is combining the craft and technique of writing and acting into one workshop, and then we're eliminating the other players on the stage because you're alone. So that's how I teach craft and technique: how to write, how to perform, how to be a better writer, how to be a better performer, specifically for stand-up.
So you had to do this, obviously, with the pandemic and COVID. You got screwed because people couldn't go on stage. So
not at all.
Well, exactly. So you had to basically do your craft and teach through Zoom and what have you. So tell me how that made you a better teacher and how it made people better comedians, because obviously going virtual takes away from the live act on top of on a stage.
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm surprised it came from you. So
I'm fledgling.
Eric Snyder in The Fledgling, an American International picture with Ginger Snaps and John Daly. A lot of French music in the background. La 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 la. I love you, but I'm going to kill you. La, la. I'm sorry. Zoom was a very interesting time for us. When this all took place, I was in Los Angeles the week before. We all saw this coming. And of course, I have my daughter lives in Los Angeles. My brother lives in Los Angeles. I lived there for 30 years. And I told my wife, I don't know when I'll be able to see them again. So I ran back. I came back, and then the whole world began to shut down. The lights began turning off. And every venue I had venues booked in New York City, St. Louis. We were negotiating with a venue to bring a show into Los Angeles. And of course, all of our flagship places here just shut down. And I told my wife, I said, we don't exist. We're in the live business and we're gone. But someone had mentioned something to me right before, going, have you ever heard of Zoom? And I went, no, I don't know what that is. So if you can remember back to that time when you didn't know what Zoom was. So we recreated everything on Zoom. We started running the workshops on Zoom. We started doing live shows on Zoom. And what we found as far as teaching people, so I still teach online classes, and I will continue to. Because if you teach a craft and technique, I can teach you, techniques, and you can practice those, or I can give you information. and you can gather that. And then what we found with the live shows was that this is nothing more than television. I mean, you guys already know this, television is no longer, a 19-inch screen or a 22-inch screen, sitting in your living room in a big thick box. Television is now your phone. Television is now your computer. Television is your notepad. So we began to teach people how to do television. So a lot of people are doing Zoom, and they're like, "Hey, everybody, how's it going?" Or they're over here, or we began to teach people that the camera is your audience, and to speak to the camera, how to be more focused. So it was really helpful, and we had great classes. We had people from all over the world joining. I had students from Australia, Texas, which is basically the same thing. Yemen, we had a student from Yemen, a student from Kuwait. So they were all able to join us. So we actually did well with that. I kind of enjoyed it more because at 65, who wants to leave the house? I want to go to a nightclub, and a bunch of kids go, "Hey, we're partying." And I go, "Well, good for you. I'm going to go home and have soup." So we did well with it, but the world is opening back up again. We have a nightclub out here that we opened during the pandemic called JP's Comedy Club, and we're still teaching online and live.
All right,
I can end your entire show with one question.
No. We got more coming. We're talking to Tony Visick. He runs comedyschools.com. You think you have it to be a stand-up comedian? Go to his site, again, comedyschools.com. This is Daly Fish. Tony, let me ask you this real quick. When you're teaching online and there's no audience, that's got to take away something, because I would think a lot of comedians really play off the crowd. And if they're not hearing the laughter, how difficult is that? Is that something you had to kind of work through?
No, because most new comedians, when they're performing, don't hear any laughter anyway. So that's when I said to a few, and they go, "I want to hear laughter." I go, "Well, you should be used to that." There will come a time, hopefully, in anyone's career where you're going to show up. So doing television, like if you get to do something similar to the Tonight Show, is such a different animal than a nightclub performance. Nightclub performance, the audience is close. You can see them. Then you do your first television show in a studio. The audience is a million miles away. There's giant cameras. There's cables on the floor. There's guys wearing baseball caps chewing gum. They're not interested in what you're saying. And it throws a lot of people off. I was involved with a company one time that was making, they called them photo booths on steroids. So it was these booths where you could go in and sing karaoke, and I was hired to teach people to do comedy. So we'd already had a lot of practice with being able to teach people how to find their own inner performer, whether there was one person in the room, 10 people, 100 people, 1,000, whether it was talking to a device or talking to people. So there's a way, there are ways to do it.
Before before the pandemic, you went on the road a lot. I remember how your career started, and terrific. And
you were there. You were there the first night.
I was, and you always had it. I mean, we bartended together back in the '80s. And he couldn't bartend. He was the funniest guy on the planet. He had the actual talent to make fun of someone in front of them, and they never knew it. A customer. So that's and it was, and this is early '80s. But Tony, when you were on the road, and you've been all over. I mean, you're the classic "I'm dying up here" syndrome. Tell me about a time, and everyone wants to know, tell me about a time when the heckler was so horrible that you almost jumped off the stage and kicked his ass, or her. That ever happened to you?
Do you want an almost story or an actual story?
I want an actual story, not an actual story.
There was one time somewhere in the Rocky Mountains. This is in like 1988. I get booked into, and it was a weird tour because one night you're working like a really nice ski resort, and the next place you're working some place where you go, tell some jokes we can dance to. So it was a real psychotic tour. And I'm working someplace in the Rocky Mountains, and there's a drunken guy sitting there, and he's heckling, and I'm going back and forth with him, and he starts to come at me. He jumps up out of his chair because I've now gone from comic to dude, and I don't mean dude Lebowski. I mean, like, oh yeah, and he comes running up, and the stage is about 4 foot high, and he leaps up, and his foot hits the lip of the stage, and I just pop him right in the chest, kapow, and send him flying back, and he lands in his chair like in a cowboy movie. He goes, like that. And I go, "You gonna sit there? You gonna shut up? You gonna listen?" And the crowd roared. And I got my $150, and I got that. I don't think I even stayed in a hotel that night. I go, "Let's go to Kansas." You know. So, so yeah, that happened. Yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
So have you been booked into like is it at a time in your career where you're going into old age Jewish retirement homes and you're trying to do your routine? Is that what it's all about right now? Have you done that?
Yes, I have, and also for members of the evangelical church, not just Jewish. We're very ecumenical. So I know. I tell you what. I'll be honest with you. I've actually done I did a really super X-rated gig in Vegas one time. I mean, like X-rated, like, you know, people are like naked, and then got on a plane and came back to LA, and then did a church picnic, you know, and was able to make people laugh from both places because I'm a comic and I want the audience to have a good time. So at the X-rated show, I go, well, here's what they want to hear, you know, at this convention. This is what they want to hear. And then at the church picnic going, well, here's what they want to hear. You know, here's why they hired me. But I've done really old folks homes don't scare me anymore. I'm actually scouting them now. They hire me and I go, this would be a nice place to live. I'll move. Do you have soup? You know, that's, you know, people can't hear. I can't hear. That's why my marriage works so well. My wife mumbles and I'm deaf, so we never argue.
Hey, Tony, what about the colleges? I know a lot of comedians are kind of down on going to the college campuses because they think kids are kind of offended by everything. Are you seeing that too?
Well, I haven't played a college in a while. I mean, so look, you have to be realistic about who and what and where you are. I mean, we were all 18, 19, 20, 21 at one time, you know, and like I said, Eric was there for my very first open mic night at the Laugh Factory, December 85. We hung out at the Melrose Improv. Eric and I did a lot. If you walked into the Melrose Improv in those days when we were in our early and mid 20s, and you know, there was a guy on the stage who was 60 something, they seemed like a foreigner because that's what we oftentimes seem like to younger people. It just is. You may not like it, but it just is. So I hear people complain about the college campuses. I go, well, who wants to hear you on a college campus anyway? They want to hear some 22-year-old kid or up to about 30-year-old who's talking about the stuff they're interested in and the way that they're interested in hearing about it. There were things that the older comics said that we went, whoa, I can't even believe that. Here he's talking about his wife and his mother. And then, so a lot of it is a fear that you're going to be X'd out because time has passed you by, and quite possibly it has, unless you decide to keep up and find your new place. So I don't get hired for a lot of colleges. Listen, what I'm going to tell them, hey, kids, here's some very funny stuff I'm going to tell you. Hey, that's your cute kid. After the show, I'll give you some tips. No, I'm just, you know, it's not.
Talk to us right now about what you got planned. If you go on your website right now, I see you got a bunch of comedians together and you're planning a show. Talk to us about what's coming up in the next few weeks. And I know you're based out of you're in Arizona. Is it Scottsdale? Where are you actually at in Arizona?
We're in we call it Greater Phoenix. So because we're kind of in a couple of different places. What I really got planned is right after this, I'm going to have a sandwich. But before that, those are my big plans. I'm going to have a sandwich. I have a workshop I teach tonight in Gilbert, Arizona. Trying to explain that is like trying to explain the difference between Reseda and Long Beach to someone, you know, not from Los Angeles. So we kind of cover the waterfront here, even though there's no water. I have ongoing live workshops at a place called JP's Comedy Club. A guy who started out of my workshops was an adult and a very astute and smart businessman and a funny guy, Jim Perry, came to me during the pandemic, and he goes, now's the time to open up. I go, really? He goes, yeah, you know, you'd be able to get better deals and stuff. So we opened up that club. I'm teaching workshops there regularly. My flagship for many years was a place called Tempe Center for the Arts, which is a beautiful municipal facility in Tempe, Arizona. So we're going back there. We're going to expand out and be in both places. We have our online classes. We have shows coming up all over the place. Sunday night, I've got round 2 of a contest that I'm running called Funniest Person in the Valley. So we got a lot of great things coming up. And, you know, and we're going to go into other cities. we've been to Las Vegas. I felt bad. I think it was when I was 60, 62. I brought comics in. A friend of mine named Don Barnhart is kind of like does a lot of what I do here, there. And we did a show at his place. And he was booking, what is it, the 4Ds or double Ds or something downtown. Did a show down there with George Wallace. So we'll be coming back into Vegas with a group of people, going back to New York, St. Louis. We tour with a lot of these guys. We're having a good time. I'm still having fun.
It's all that matters. Sounds good. Hey, let me ask you a real quick question on this, Tony. What about someone who doesn't want to be a comedian, but they want to be a better public speaker? Would it be worth going to see you?
You know, when you're going to teach this, what I teach in a city like Phoenix, you're teaching in LA or New York, you've got people that have gone specifically to those cities to be a stand-up comedian, to be an actor. Not always the case in a city like Phoenix. I've had probably more than half of the people who have taken my workshop have taken it for that specific reason. They're already doing public speaking. They're a CEO. They're a salesperson. A lot of known radio personalities in this city have taken my workshop who, are still currently working, in radio. One guy's a news director of a big radio station out here. Another guy's a big morning guy. So I get a lot of people who just want to improve their public speaking skills who take the class, and it's an enjoyable class for them.
Awesome.
Sounds like fun.
All right, Tony. Well, thanks for coming on. We enjoyed having you.
I thought you were gonna do like some sort of violent, weird podcast show. And Eric was gonna start showing pictures of me in an apartment in 1982. But that's not what we're doing, right? We're not doing that.
Well, now that you say that.
Because I own all those clothes. I saw the Ginger Snap segment, and I own all of those clothes. We're getting new floors done, and my wife was going through my closet and actually found one of those leather jackets with the kind of where it's got the little metal thing on it. I have one of those. Yeah. And the skinny ties. Yeah, I have skinny jeans, but they don't fit anymore.
Yeah, the Jordache jeans. Remember the girls wore the candy shoes, and we had the slip-ons, and those are the days, man. We could all go back and talk about the 70s and 80s. We remember them, Tony. You don't.
I don't recall. That's all I ever say with people. I don't recall. I have no knowledge at this point in time.
So, John, Tony does a podcast every day. He's on his podcast. He's talking about people in the bars, this and that, and O.J. Simpson and what have you. And I said, Tony, don't you remember the time that you asked out O.J. Simpson's wife? And he went blank. He went blank.
She goes, I don't remember. I may have gone out with her. I don't know.
You asked everybody out. You asked O.J. Simpson out. But those are the days, He
was a great date. He was sharp as a knife.
Oh, boy, great. On that note, John, take us out.
All right. Well, we've been talking to Tony Visick. He runs comedyschools.com. Check out his site, especially if you think you got a stand-up comedian trying to bust out of your body. Again, that is comedyschools.com. Tony, thank you so much.
Thank you, John. Great meeting you, Eric. Great seeing you again, Fish. Love you very much. We got to get together live soon.
Right back at you.
Thank you, buddy.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tony.
All right. And still ahead, he had breakfast with Muhammad Ali, drinks with Mickey Mantle, and shared an historic moment with Pete Rose. TV producer and correspondent John Johnston joins us next. Hey, you need a great golf getaway? The Myrtle Beach Golf Trail has dozens of courses along the Carolina coast. Set up an entire trip for yourself, your family, or a bunch of friends. The site is myrtlebeachgolftrail.com. You can play there year-round. All right, let's bring in our next guest. John Johnston is one of the great storytellers in television. He was my senior producer at Real TV. He also launched the first Jim Rome show on Fox Sports. He was also a correspondent on Current Affair. JJ, as always, welcome to the show. And I have my two favorite storytellers here.
You know what? I've been blessed to be around a lot of great storytellers, John. And, I had the incredible opportunity with Don Hewitt from 60 Minutes. And I had a chance to sit down with him. By the way, nice to meet you, Eric. Good to see you. And you're with one of my favorite people of all time, Mr. John Daly. So I'm sorry about the look, guys. I just got out of studio and rushed to get here. So you have to take what you get. But
it looks good though. It looks good. You got movement and everything.
absolutely. So anyway, with Don, I worked with his daughter at a current affair, and I was with Don several times and that kind of thing. And he was one of those guys that when you were in a room with him, nobody else mattered because he would pay attention to you. And he had a gift of doing that. I mean, there's Mike Wallace over there and Morley Safer over there and Ed Bradley there. And hey, guys, quiet. I'm talking to John. And, you know, he did that with every person that I've ever seen him with. And he made everybody feel very special. But he gave me the greatest advice ever. And what he said is, John, I said, what's the secret? What's this? What's that? He goes, just go past all the crap and the gimmicks and all that kind of stuff. Just tell me a story. And I said, what? He goes, just tell me a story. People want to hear stories. And I had the opportunity with A Current Affair to work with some of the greatest storytellers that I've ever known, and Steve Dunleavy and Peter Brennan and some of the people over there. And it was just so eye-opening to me that they always looked at things differently than everybody else. I heard you guys talking about O.J. Simpson. Well, I covered the O.J. Simpson trial, and I was around him a lot and that kind of thing. I actually played golf with O.J. once, but he had a terrible slice. Of course, it's not a comedic.
Wow.
But, yeah.
Let me ask you, JJ. Let me ask some great. I actually met you before when you were doing a pilot Miss America with John. You were great.
Yes. Yeah.
Let me ask you, when you produced him at Real TV, did you ever have any talent like him that asked for wardrobe, makeup, and hair more than he did, or was he just easy? I mean, look at this guy. The guy never ages. He looks like this is the curious Benjamin Button. This guy.
It was the thing that made me sick. The guy never asked for anything. He was just naturally beautiful, right? He sat there and girls fell all over him. But thank God he had his beautiful wife, Terry, with him, and she kept him in line. But no, John was and was a very humble and straightforward guy. And he showed up to do the job and do the best job that he could and tell the best story that he could. And that's why he and I gelled so much.
John told me, John told me, and this really gets, because my family's all New Yorkers, and he said that you actually had drinks. Well, yeah, exactly. I'm from Los Angeles, but I was conceived in Brooklyn. Another story. Anyways, he said you actually had drinks with Mickey Mantle. My dad and my uncles and cousins up there want to hear about you having drinks with the Mick, because that was their favorite ball player.
Do you remember a guy named Jerry Lester?
I do not.
Okay, he was a infamous sports writer in New York, and he was very good friends with drinking buddies, and everybody was a drinking buddy in New York with Steve Dunleavy. And so Dunleavy knew that I was a baseball fanatic, and he goes, JJ, you've got to come meet me at this bar tonight. And I said, Steve, I've been at the bar with you every night this week. I got to go home. And he's like, no. This is special. You got to come. And so we went to a place called Tommy McGrath's on 67th between 2nd and 3rd. And it was this dingy old place. And Dunleavy had a room in the back. And that's where he would entertain people and those kinds of things with stories and regale them with this and that and all those kinds of things. So I said, all right, I'll come by and have one drink. So I walk in, and Dunleavy's sitting there, and he's proud as a peacock in the booth, and he's just beaming. And Jerry's sitting there next to him, and I go, why are these guys sitting next to each other? And then I walked around the booth, and sitting there is Mickey Mantle. And my jaw just dropped. And he was drinking, and he had been diagnosed already. He was sick. And I sat there and just listened to him, and he was just so open about the biggest regret in his life. And the biggest regret in Mickey Mantle's life was that he wasn't nicer to people, especially little kids. And he said, you know, if I would have been nicer to people, especially kids, they would have remembered me as their hero. And there was like just a moment in time that he would have taken to sign an autograph, pat the kid on the head. And what he would do is he would just kind of brush him off or walk by him or gruff at him or whatever. And he goes, so those kids, their lasting memory of me was forever a dick. And he goes, if I would have taken 5 seconds to acknowledge the kid, not even sign an autograph, just, hey, Johnny, how you doing? Pat him on the back, do something like that, I would have been what they thought or who they thought I was. Instead, I forever ruined their memory. And I will carry that with me to my grave. And Mickey Mantle started crying when we were sitting at the table. And it was the most eye-opening thing that I'd ever seen an athlete do. And you know what? He's absolutely right. And the great ones, John was talking, I was lucky enough to have dinner one time or breakfast one time with Muhammad Ali. And he was with Angelo Dundee. And I said, I can't believe that we're doing this. And he said, Angelo Dundee said, tell him, kid. And Ali leaned over and he said, you know what? We learned a long time ago. It don't cost you nothing to be nice to people, but if you're a dick, it can cost you everything. And those are truly words I think that people need to live by, because no matter how big you are and how much money you have, that wanting to be around you is so incredibly important, and hear your story and follow you and to be part of your life instead of somebody who really begrudges everything that you've ever gotten. And Ollie was that way. I mean, he walked around in the restaurant and kissed and held every kid, did magic tricks for them. And he was just, I don't care if the kid was brown, yellow, green, white, whatever. He treated everybody the same way. And he was just he was the greatest fighter who ever lived, in my opinion, but he was also one of the most genuine, sweetest human beings you'd ever meet.
And he was quite a showman too. I mean, in his early career of boxing, and does that correspond to his kindness?
As far as being the showman, I think that, that came from God. There's nobody ever been like him, not only with athletic ability in the ring, but also he knew that it was a show. He knew to get people in the tent. He was the Barnum and Bailey of boxing. And he knew that if he could get people in and get people to hate him and get people fired up about a fight, that the money would just keep clicking. And so if you sat and had a conversation with the guy, he was not subdued, but very intelligent and very engaged in the conversation and how you were, instead of always talking about him. It wasn't about him. It was about, how can we help children? How can we raise money to do this? How can we do that? He was always about the betterment of humanity. Whenever I was around him, and I was around him twice, then he was about boxing or, the accomplishments that he had done or anything like that. But he was funny too. There was a sports guy with me. His name was Dan Brady. And when we had breakfast with him, and Brady was Italian and from New York. And Brady was, you're a bad man. You shook up the world. You're pretty. I mean, all these great lines in the ring that were captured on film and forever iconic in our minds. He recited every one of them. And Muhammad was starting to lose his voice. And he said, Brady, what are you? And he goes, what are you talking about? And he goes, what are you? And he goes, what do you mean? He goes, you are Italian? And he said, yeah, I'm Italian. And then Muhammad just looked at me and looked at him, and he goes, he got a little in him too.
Yeah.
And Brady didn't want to acknowledge what he said because of the word that he used. And he got louder. And Brady's like, huh? And so finally he spells it out. And he goes, and we just all fell out at the table. It was so fun to listen to him because he was just, and this is the kind of guy that Muhammad was. He fell in love with Brady. I sat there with my mouth agape, and Brady just kept talking to him. And at the end of the breakfast, Muhammad Ali reached down and grabbed the watch off of his wrist, and he gave it to Dan Brady. And he said, "You're one of the special people in my life, and I want you to know that I'll always remember the time that we had together, so I want to give you this." And it wasn't an expensive watch or anything like that, but Angelo Dundee said, "What are you doing, champ?" He goes, "So-and-so gave you that watch. You wear that watch every day. You've had that watch for 35 years. And Muhammad Ali goes, "Well, I don't anymore." And he walked away. He goes, "I wanted somebody else to have it. And this is the person that I've always wanted to give it to. And I just met him today."
We are talking to John Johnson, TV producer and correspondent. He's sharing his stories, sports stories with us. This is Daily Fish. All right, JJ, you got some other good stories. We probably got about 4 or 5 minutes left. So the other two good ones are you and Pete Rose.
I have several other good ones, John. The ones I can tell you are Pete Rose and what.
And the other one was the 1994 Lillehammer Olympics.
That was crazy because I was over there with the current affairs, a correspondent, to follow the Nancy Kerrigan, Tanya Harding debacle, and it was nuts because we were sent over there from Fox in a current affair, and we were sent at the last minute because the correspondent that was supposed to go actually had to babysit Jeff Galooly because he was not allowed to go and leave the state. So I get on a plane and fly over there. We have no credentials, no place to stay, no nothing. But I had $7,000 in cash in my pocket that they had given me from a current affair. And so we get over there, and there's a big news conference happening when Tanya arrives and Nancy arrives and those kinds of things. We don't have any way to get in. So there's this big, I'm exaggerating here, but he looks 7'7" to me, Nordic guard over there. And I walked over and I said, I'm John Johnston from Fox. We're here to cover the news conference. And there was media from all over the world there. And so he said, "No credential, no get in." And I said, no. We're from Fox in America. We're supposed to be here. This ain't no credential. And so I go, "Take a walk with me." So he left his post for a second, and I just start laying $100 bills in his hand. And so we get to like $3,000, and he goes, "Credential," like that. And so he had like $3,000 in his hand. We get in. I told him we'd stay in the back. We wouldn't say anything, whatever. Well, she gets in there. I know it's my one chance to talk to her. So there were podiums set up. So I'm bouncing from podium to podium and kind of just knew that it was my only chance. So I just kind of dominated the whole news conference. At the end of the news conference, the guy grabs me by the back of it's the Nordic guard. And he's got my cameraman in one hand and me in the other. And we were on our way out. And Maury Povich was the host of Current Affair at the time. And Connie was over there with Tanya Harding because CBS was doing the Olympics. And Connie goes, "JJ, I can't." And the Nordic guard stopped for Connie. He knew who she was. And I grabbed the microphone and immediately started interviewing Connie Chung. And she said to me, "JJ, you got more out of her than anybody that I've seen. You got tears out of her. You got this, you got that." Wow. And so the guard let us go. We zipped out the other way. I sent the tape back the next day. The headline in the New York Post was, "Chung, big fan of affair."
Wow.
That was the headline in the New York Post. CBS wanted to kill her. She didn't talk to me the rest of the Olympics. It took like 4 or 5 years for her to forgive me. I go, Connie, I didn't do that. I just sent the tape back.
Wow.
But, look, I've been very fortunate and had a really fun ride. And part of that has included you, John. So thank you.
Absolutely. All righty, my friend. We've been talking to John Johnson, TV producer and correspondent. He had breakfast with Ali and drinks with the Mick. And trust me, you want to have drinks with this guy. That's for sure. JJ, thanks, buddy.
You got it. Thank you guys so much. Eric, good seeing you, buddy.
Good seeing you too. Thank you.
All right. Coming up next, we're gonna talk about a live remote that we have for you coming up next week. So hang around just for that. But first, let me tell you about MedSonics. If you're in Vegas and you are in pain, go to MedSonics. This sound wave technology relieves pain. I have used it. It works for me. It's non-invasive. You sit there for 25 minutes and relax. It doesn't cure anything. It just relieves pain. The website is medsonics.com, and it's spelled MEDSONIX. Al is the owner, inventor. Tell him Daly Fish sent you there. All right, before we go, how much time do we have left there, Fish?
About 4 minutes and 12 seconds.
4 minutes, 12 seconds. Okay, we can squeeze some stuff in here. So, hey, those were 2 great interviews. That was a ton of fun. And I told you JJ would fill up enough so that we didn't have to sit there and talk and say much. He's got so many great stories. You two are my 2 favorite storytellers, by the way, out of all the people I know.
Yeah, well, we love you too, buddy. You're our favorite anchor, our host. So you got like I said, it takes a guy like you to deal with a schmuck like me. JJ's not a schmuck. JJ's actually, that's a great story. $3,000. Now you got a credential. Talk about old school. Talk about Goodfellas. Yeah. Awesome stuff. Tony was great. Ginger Snaps is great. And then next to Monday night, live from the Cosmo. Remember Michael Shapiro was on a couple of weeks ago. We're gonna see his band. There's gonna be some members of Journey there probably, and he's in with his son. Miles Shawn is his lead guitar player. So we'll do a live remote from there, and then I believe on the 29th we got John O'Hurley on the show, and I know he was your college roommate, but Seinfeld stories and the guests keep coming, and hopefully the content keeps getting better, and it will.
He's agreed to come on the show, so we're going to have him. That'll be on the 29th, so that'll be 2 weeks from now, and we're looking forward. That'll be fun too. We'll have some fun with him. He'll poke some fun at both of us. That's for sure.
John,
go ahead.
Can I leave the show? I mean, we got about 2 minutes and 40 seconds. Can we recreate this? Okay, I got to go back to this. Do you remember who the girl was? Because she's dynamite, and she's got that. She looks like a better looking version of Susan Day in the Partridge Family, and then the other girl looks great, and the other girl looks like she could be Bette Midler in back of her. I mean, look at you, and there's all girls. Was this an all girls school? Did you infiltrate? What happened?
No. This was a Plant Junior High School, public high school in West Hartford, Connecticut. And again, I want to say I was in 9th grade. Our junior high went from 7th to 9th. And the woman there who I'm talking to, her name is Valerie Stoughton. And Valerie is a nurse up in the Cape Cod and Boston area. And I've actually bumped into her a couple of times at reunions that we've had. And she's just a great guy. She was a beautiful guy, and she's still a beautiful woman. And then Marissa Boney, and I don't know Marissa's married name now, but she's the one behind there. So her family, I know her family fairly well. So yeah, that was a picture that it came to me. Somebody sent it to me about, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, or it might've been right after we had a reunion, maybe about 4 or 5 years ago. So that was that. So it was kind of fun seeing that. So it's always great. Valerie, I actually correspond with her on Facebook. So
wait, let's go back. That's 9th grade. You look like you're like 7'3" in that thing. How tall are you? About 5'11", 6 feet?
You know what? I'm 6 feet tall, and I was 6 feet tall then. I did not grow after 9th grade because I was the center of the basketball team, and then I had to be the point guard by the time I got to high school.
All right, well, we'll take you out and get back to the John Daly of today. That's fantastic. That I had to put that back up there, and the fact that these people still. I know Facebook helps a lot with that. So we have about 30 seconds to go. So if you want to take us out on another great podcast, a lot of fun.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Remember, Daily Fish is live from Vegas and Myrtle Beach. Catch us on Facebook at daily.fish.5, DBNA television on Roku TV, Amazon Fire TV, and soon Apple TV, and the DBA television network at DBA and dbnatelevision.com, and also YouTube and on Facebook. If you have suggestions, please email us at dailyfish1@gmail.com or post us on Facebook. Fish, another great show, buddy.
Yep. And I'll be there next week at the Cosmo with Ginger Snap. So can't wait. Thanks, John. And we'll see you next week. Okay.
Love you, brother. Thanks.